So for me, I had viewed my sort of my childhood as things that were just they just evolved. To be honest with you, I remember times in which we didn't have access to cable, so my dad would buy box sets of Good Times, the Jeffersons, just really old black television shows, and we'd watch it together as a family. But we'd also get to see, the ways in which family life looked like in the black community. One that wasn't striped with drug addiction, crime, all the things that were necessarily portrayed and impart upon people who look like me. But we saw hope, we saw joy, we saw laughter in the face and in the spite of poverty. So for me, I just always knew that to create, you don't need access to much. You just need imagination. You just need to think outside of the box. Now, I never thought that that was something that was going to lead me towards anything that was going to be financially lucrative, right? It wasn't until later in life until I realized how much artists can actually make. As I would go into museums later in life and I'd walk into a museum and I'd see an abstract painting and I'd see colors splattered on the wall. And then I'd ask myself, how is this painting worth $10,000? I swear it took 10 minutes to do that. Then I would look at the description, and that's where the value of the painting lies. My cousin told me that when he had went to, I believe it was, he went to Europe and he went to go see the Picasso. And he had sort of talked about it to me in terms of this build-up. Like, yeah, we've always heard about the famous Picasso painting. When you go and see it, it's just this small 10 by 12 painting that's 100 yards away that people kind of look at. And I go, yeah, I mean, the brilliance is not necessarily in the portrait itself, but it's in the backstory. And that's where the intellectual side of me comes out. The creative side is innate. That's something that I grew up with. But the intellectual side, that was something that was acquired throughout the duration of my adolescence into my adult life. And I think about some very important people who really played some vital roles in my development of my identity, outside of obviously my family and my community and my culture. But I'm thinking about these individuals along the way who reaffirmed my value and let me know that it was okay to be different. It was okay to stand on your own. And I want to use this opportunity in this space to just thank them. One, Andrea Otanes. For those who know Andrea, she's the one who set everything into motion. Andrea let me know that I had the ability to narrate or to write. She encouraged me to give journalism as a profession a shot. Andrea got me my first job at the Seattle Times when I was 19 years old because she was formerly a Metro editor at the newspaper. Andrea has been alongside me throughout my academic journey. A lot of individuals don't know. I know Andrea for a long time. And from there, Andrea led me to Kathleen Fernbanks, longtime professor at the University of Washington in the communication department, an African-American woman who was also a producer for NBC back in the 70s. I believe she was a runner, or she played some role on the Flip Wilson variety show. And I remember taking classes with Kathleen and just really being enthralled by how media depiction really shaped our perceptions of our reality. She taught me about minstrel shows, Amos and Andy. She taught me about how the depictions in media oftentimes were not indicative of what was going on in life, but oftentimes how we see and how we view ourselves is what's depicted on media. That seems to be the spectrum towards our possibility. So the more and more I would work with Kathleen, and she ended up taking a liking to me, and she actually asked me to serve as a student researcher on her historical dictionary of African Americans in television, her course textbook. And it was an honor for me. And I thank her for that because she allowed for me to go and delve deeper into the context that we were learning, content that we were learning in her courses. I was really big on how media shaped how people saw each other. For me, as a black man who grew up in Seattle, who moved to South Sacramento when I was 13 years old, I've seen it all. I've seen what it's looked like in Seattle public schools at Extime Middle School when teachers care about you. They didn't necessarily care about me per se, but they cared about their students. I was just there. They put my ass in anger management when I was in 7th grade. Thank you, Seattle Public Schools. But then I moved to South Sacramento, and I remember my 12th grade in high school. We're taking English. And the teacher says, all you guys need are C's to graduate. It's not that hard. And I'm thinking to myself, huh? You're imposing mediocrity as the standard? So, I mean, for me, I had been in schools but prior to that in which I would never hear a teacher at Extime Middle School say that to a white student. All you need are C's to graduate. And I'm looking at my classmates and they're going, that's easy, we can do that. And they're okay with it. But I can't fault them. I moved there. I wasn't born there. So I'm thinking if that's their educational experience from the time that they were 5 years old in Sacramento Elk Grove School District to the time that they graduate, and that's all the message that they're being fed, that's all the potential that they have to be, well, why else? I mean, where else are you going to look? Basketball, entertainment, athletics, nothing scholarly. Doctor and lawyers, on a board of directors, a board of trustees. What the hell is that? They don't teach you that in inner city schools. So I had to go to college, University of Washington, let's go Huskies. I would take classes on the wire on social justice. I studied abroad in Barbados. And when I was in Barbados, I would study cultural ethnography. And that's where someone who was probably the most influential person outside of my mother, my grandmother, and that's Dr. Relina Joseph. I would not be where I'm at in this position today without Relina, without Dr. Joseph. She taught me how to be a leader. You see, with Kathleen and with Andrea, they gave me the information. They really started my path, my journey. But Relina Joseph gave me the direction, gave me the confidence to say, you know what, no, set out on your own path. I remember I had met with Relina at the University of Washington UW Club, and we're sitting down and we're having a conversation, and I'm kind of opening up to Relina like, yo, Relina, like I'm ascending in my career, and I'm seeing individuals who look like me but don't think like me. And it's almost like that movie Get Out. And you go and you see a group of people who look like you, and you go, yo, we're in here, and then they don't say nothing. I thought that was just something that I seen as a young professional, that the more you elevate and the more you grow in your career, the more authority, autonomy you have. And she told me, she said, Pat, I feel you. And she's like, I don't know if, like, quite frankly, you're meant to work for somebody. And I had to take a step back and really, like, ponder on that. She said, have you ever thought about academic research? I go, no, I haven't. I mean, I love to learn, but what am I going to do? She said, if you focus on the ability to learn and think critically, that'll take you anywhere you want to go. Academia is much more than just finding what your area of expertise is, your thesis, what your dissertation or thesis is, right? It's learning how to find resources, learning how to vet and go, what is credible, what is not, what is fake news, what is not. She said, Pat, you have experience in that, right? She said, you worked at the Seattle Times for 5 years. You know how to research. You've been out in the community. You've been a leader. Why don't you be your own entity? And then from there, I sat in on one of her PhD courses with her cohort, small cohort, and I was enthralled by the conversation. I was supposed to be an observer. I ended up becoming an active participant in the discussion. So I decided I need to get back to a space in which I'm always consistently learning. And that's what led me to Seattle University. I said because working with the youth gives me the opportunity to, one, know what is the concerns of the future generation, but also in my positionality be able to pass that information on to my peers. And if they want to receive it and listen to it, that is on them. And if they don't, that's on them. You say, I don't like this top-down mentality because you forget what really matters. I said, because I come from not much. Anything that I get, I cherish and I value it. It'd be like getting a Ferrari when you're 16 years old. You're not going to appreciate the value of a car if you break or you crash your car, you can get a new one. But if you got your car stolen, like in my case, and or you had your house broken into, like in my case, or you've had students become incarcerated, like in my case, or you've had friends murdered, like in my case, to then show up into the room and being judged. I go, look at me, I'm a black man in America. I grew up with everything, all the chips stacked against me, and I'm sitting here in this room with you, white man. You're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old with 40 years of experience. I'm 29, B. I got dreadlocks. You not hear what I just said? I had friends murdered, students incarcerated. You ever walk into your home and look at the wall, look at the outlet for a light? Do you know what that is? That's a sign. Oh, I still have electricity. Have you ever had to boil water because you don't have hot water to take a bath? White man, Karen, and you want to judge me. See, those three women, Relina, Kathleen, Andrea, taught me what I know. And most recently, Carol Lawali at Seattle University. Pay that woman her respect. She deserves every bit of it. When I look at Queen Kamala Harris, first African American, South Asian woman, biracial woman to be Vice President of the United States, where just weeks earlier, they dragged Carmen Best through the mud, forced her to resign, retire. We know damn well she wasn't retired. She was tired of the bullshit. Now she's at NBC as a correspondent. You see me, I worked in nonprofits majority of my life. I have no problem submitting to women. Think about the civil rights movement. You have Diane Nash, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells. Women have always been a heartbeat. See, and as a creative and intellectual, you have to submit yourself to being open to difference, not only in opinion, in ideology and viewpoint, but the one thing that's consistent is history, and that's where the intellectual side comes in. Because no matter what I say, I am able to point back to where the thread lies. I don't live off of perception. I live off purpose. For far too long, I've seen on media black men, black women, people of color have to present and act a certain way. But to be honest with you, I'm very ignorant. I'm hood, but I'm intelligent. I'm a scholar. And I can give you whatever energy you want. There's nothing wrong with that. That's to be holistic. I am as righteous as I am ratchet. I am as ignorant as I am intelligent. So when we think about 2020, when we think about 2021, the world is changing. The reality is out. So as a creative intellectual, all I'm doing is empowering individuals to say, you know what? This is who I am. This is who I've been. There's nothing wrong with you and there's nothing wrong with me. I don't think I'm better than anyone. But I'm also not less than anyone either. So when you think about that, there's only two ways you can go. You can get lost, or you can stand pat.